Thank you for joining me here on C Major Before the Show. I'm C Major. And for today's show, we're talking about heartbreak and wonder. May the 4th may be a little melancholy for some, but we're talking about minor chords here on today's episode. And almost everyone knows what today is. It's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. But there's a little bit of melancholy in the air this year. And so for some of you that are feeling that, then we just want to keep you in mind. But today's episode is about minor chords. So it will have a little more bittersweet meaning to the C Major Before the Show episode and the C Major Radio Show tomorrow if you're listening. So that's today's show. We'll be back in one moment. It's a beautiful day here in the greater New York City area, so if you happen to be out and about, just know that even though it's a little bit chillier than we thought it would be, it's not bad. It's actually comfortable outside, and it's not as sunny as you may have hoped that it would be, but it's also not raining, too. So I had expected that it might be drizzling a little bit, but I don't see that right now, and I know that from talking with my students today at the lesson studio that some of their parents are out doing some gardening, and I see some others that are doing lawn work as I'm just kind of looking around and seeing what people are doing today. But thank you so much for being here on this Saturday afternoon. And we are talking about minor chords. So what I will do today, I will go ahead and play those using my computer keyboard. So we're still doing that. That's the different spin on this renewal of the 12-week series. And so we have so far talked about major chords, C, F, and G. We've talked about D, E, and A. And now it's time to make those chords minor. So let's just jump right into that today, and then we'll have some other things to say. I actually have quite a bit to say today, so I'm happy about that because a lot of things have transpired over the week, and I'm just happy to share those things with you here on the podcast. So I'm pulling up my GarageBand now. I'm actually going to stop my music for a moment so you can hear what I'm doing on the computer keyboard. And so let's stop that. And then as I'm pulling this up, just know you can find this for yourself. If you have GarageBand, I happen to have the old version. I never upgraded, and you can do the same thing. If you have the old version, you have the option of upgrading, or you can just go with the old. But if you go over to Window and just click on that, you have the option to check musical typing, and then once you've done that, then you will see a computer keyboard that corresponds to how you're going to play your chords on that computer keyboard. So you see musical typing, and you can choose a sound. I chose grand piano on stage, and then below that I can see a mini keyboard, almost like a controller of some sort, and then beyond that you start to see the computer keyboard, which is color-coded, and then you can see that it also divides into 2 black keys, followed by a group of 3 black keys, followed by a group of 2 black keys. So it kind of tricks you into thinking you're playing on a real keyboard, a musical keyboard, for your musical typing. So let's see, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and warm up on the chords that I've taught you so far. So far I've taught you a C chord, and like this if it's broken. It sounds like this if you play it all together. And then let's go over to an F chord. F chord, and then G chord. Okay, and then that's my G chord. And now I'm going to go to my D chord. Okay, then I'm going to go to my E chord. To my A chord, which is okay, so it's kind of fun. It's like a Jedi mind trick, if you will, to try to play this because I'm seeing different letters in front of me. So as I'm playing a C chord, I'm seeing A, E, G, and I'm like, okay, but that's a C major chord. And so it can be done if you really understand black and white key relationship. We talked about that a little bit on the last episode. We also talked about thinking of it in different terms. If it helps you to think in terms of colors. Also, you know, with the little coloring that's done on this computer keyboard, if you're looking at it on the screen, as I am, you can see there's a green color, there's blue, there's lavender, and there's something with sort of like a lavender and a pink hue to it, and then like a light yellow, and then a peach color, and then you have your black and white. So if you think in terms of color, what you can do with colors, feel free to color this how you want, or maybe do a screen capture and then just color it how you want, because we did start talking, I think it was a couple of summers ago, or maybe it was last summer, we started talking about thinking in terms of playing the piano using colors. And then we talked about how you can find on the internet some people actually painting their keyboards and changing the white keys into something else. I think somebody chose the color blue for all white keys, and then they did something else with the black keys. But it's up to you, you know, whatever motivates you to practice. Okay, so we've played so far C, F, and G, D, E, and A triads, and now it's time to make them minor. So you're going to hear me going back and forth from major to minor. Okay, so this is a G chord. A C chord. Okay, this is a C minor chord. And back to C major. Okay, if you prefer to use the word triad, you can. Okay, so to make something minor, all we're doing is lowering that middle key. So if you're playing it in root position, you can see how to do that and just take that middle white key and turn it into a black key. You can think of it that way. Or you can think of it as playing the white key and lowering that key, but just that one key. And if you have your chord chart, I do not have a chord chart in front of me. I don't have the chord books, and I have none of that in front of me today. I'm trying to keep it light, trying to keep it moving, and hopefully you can follow. If you have any questions about what we're talking about, or you need some help, feel free to contact us on social media. Get with your music professional. I say this all the time, you know, someone who really is knowledgeable about what's going on. And there are a lot of them out there, let me tell you, because a lot of people have really challenged themselves to do a lot of peer-to-peer learning when it comes to music. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit too. That's very exciting to know. Here in the 21st century, the ways of learning is so different. Ways of seeing music is so different. Ways of hearing music, it's all very exciting. So if you're thinking music lessons are these stodgy things that you have to go through and dusting off the piano books, and that's the only way you're going to learn, guess again. Because let me tell you, there are a lot of students out there who are not waiting for instructors, and that piano lessons that were once strictly instructor-led are now turning away from that with the presence of YouTube and everything else that's out there. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm just excited about that topic because I know that from talking with my students, that's how they learn. That's how they best learn. That's how they prefer to learn. They're doing it, and they're not waiting for me to show them anything. except for what's in their traditional piano method books. So getting back to the chords though, so I'm going to go again from a C major chord to C minor, back to C major. Okay, and then now I'm going to go over to F, F minor, back to F major. Okay, good. And then I'm going to go over to G, now G minor, back to G. Okay, so basically I took chords that use all white keys and then I just put a black key in the middle. So use your ear, use how you want to play these chords. I'm right now using my left hand to play everything. It's just easier in the moment to do that. And so now I'm going to go to my D chord and do the reverse. So D, E, and A, what they have in common is that they all have sharps in the middle. You think of them as sharps, think of them as a black key. And so now I'm going to play my D chord. Okay, now I'm going to make it minor. Changing the middle to a white key, so now I have all white keys on D, and then going back to D, D major triad. Okay, so, and what I meant by key chords, I just really meant minor key chords, meaning just thinking of minor keys and thinking of not the key signature, but just thinking of a chord as a minor chord. So if you say minor key chord, it almost insinuates that you're talking about the key of something. We haven't really talked about key signatures over here, but I will think about talking in terms of key signatures on tomorrow's show over at the C Major Radio Show, because you're over there with me writing down things clearly, and it may be easier to see how to write your minor chords out if you're thinking about key signatures at the same time. So just stay with me. It's Saturday afternoon, but we will be broadcasting tomorrow on Sunday afternoon, and we'll be sharing with you minor chords over on the C Major Radio Show. So more to come on that too, so I will talk about that in a moment. So where am I? I think I've played D, D minor, back to D. Now I'm going to go to E and play that. Okay. E, E minor, back to E. Okay, now I'm going to go over to A and do an A chord. A minor, back to A. Okay. So that's the sound of that. So if you happen to be on a computer keyboard and you want to play these chords, I mean, I can spell them out for you if you want. And I know there's a way to shift this. You don't have to call an A on a keyboard. You can assign different letters. You can actually assign it so that it may appear as how you actually spell the chords. But then don't get with your music professional on that. Get with the Apple professional on that and see if the Apple specialists or the, what do they call them now, the genius people at the Genius Bar, see if they can help you reassign that. So, you know, it's a little challenging to see, okay, now I'm going to play a C minor chord, but on the keyboard it's spelled A-E-G. And then if I go over to F minor, then it's spelled F-Y-K. And then if I go over to G minor, it's spelled G-U and K. Oh, sorry. G-U-L. Okay, then if I go to an E minor chord, then it's spelled D-G-J. And then if I go to I forgot to go to D. If I go to a D minor chord, then it's spelled S-F-H. Okay, now I'm going to go to E minor and spell that as D-G-J. And then over to A minor and spell that as H-K semicolon. Okay, so hopefully you're able to follow that. And the octave that I'm playing, the octave range, is C2. So I wanted you to hear those lower sounds on this keyboard just to, have a sense of it. So hopefully that helps you out. I'm going to give an assignment to over at C Major's Classroom. If you were with us for last week, we did a lit or a lilt homework. So hopefully you were able to find music that had a lilting quality. That was last week's assignment, and hopefully you found it fun. I still have some students that are struggling with that, and some students that are tuning into the podcast, I believe, just to hear what I have to say on minor chords today. So I will give some shout outs a little bit later to those students. But that's basically it for today's lesson. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And minor chords are, to me, chords that you can use to create a melancholy sound or a serious sound. And so it'll be interesting to hear how you decide that you want to, describe minor chords and how you're using them in your music making, how you're using them in your life. So if you happen to have your musical chart, your chord chart, I'm deciding right now, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that out because I feel like I need to spell it out for you. If you happen to have it with you, let's see, which one do I want to use today? Let's see, I can use the one from the Popular Chord Dictionary. And by the way, we really haven't talked about intervals much. We haven't talked about thirds and fifths and things like that. I don't think we'll talk about that over here, but we may just end up talking about it over there on the C Major Radio Show tomorrow. So hope you'll tune in for that. Let's see. Just trying to figure out if I want to use the Piano Chord Finder book or the Popular Chord Dictionary book. Well, I have my hands on the Popular Chord Dictionary book, so let me just go ahead and pull that out for the moment. So you hear me changing my location. That makes me think of that song, Location, if you know that song. I think that song may have some minor chords in it. If I have a chance, I'll look that up while I'm on with you. Okay, so what I did was I pulled out the Popular Chord Dictionary for Piano book because this chord dictionary shows the notation, it shows the finger and the keyboard diagrams for all of the important chords used in modern popular music. So it covers everything from major to minor to diminished to augmented to 6 chords to 7 chords, 9 chords, 11 chords, 13 chords. I was working with a student today. She was shifting from major to 7th chords, and then we played an augmented chord, and then we went back to a 7th chord, I think it was. So that was the sequence, and she was having some challenging times figuring out which fingering to use. So in this book, fingering indicated for each chord may be regarded as a basic fingering. So whatever is most comfortable for the individual hand is usually best. I agree with that, and I have some suggestions for that, but they say fingerings may be altered for certain chord progressions. It is very common to substitute the 4th finger for the 5th finger. So lots of rules in music making, but if you prefer to use your own rules, then feel free to use your own rules. So now I'm turning to page, just so you have a point of reference, turning to page 10 in this book. So what you'll see pictured, you're going to see an inversion because, again, they give you a way to play these chords with your left hand. So just as I was playing with my left hand on the computer keyboard, if you're playing on an actual real keyboard, they outline the chord for you as G, C, E flat. So then you're using 5, 2, 1 in your left hand. So your 5th finger is on G, your 2nd finger is on C, and then your thumb is on E flat. And then tomorrow, what we'll do is go over how you would chart that, how you would put that on the staff. Okay, so C minor, and then let's go over to F minor. And I'm just doing the minors today. So F minor is pictured on page 22, and then you see, again, they've just chosen to play it as an inversion, picture it as an inversion. So your fifth finger would go on A flat, that's the middle key of a 3 black key group. Move over to C with your third finger. 1, 2, C is there, and then your thumb is on F. 1, 2, 3, F is there to the left of your 3 black key group. And then you play your F minor chord. And then G minor. Let's go over there. So hopefully you feel informed if you've heard the show. Now they've chosen to picture this as in root position. So you see G, B flat, D, which is the way I've been playing it in root position. Right? So your fifth finger is on G. And it's so interesting because they cut off the third black key. So you can't see that there's a third black key there. You just see 2 black keys. And as a musician, you're going, what in the world? But as someone who doesn't know and not thinking about black and white key relationship, you just go, okay, so G would be there. You would figure it out. You would figure out the distance from the D, probably, where the G is located. But it's interesting. They did not give you the third black key to see the black and white key relationship that way. And I actually had a student doing that today too. He just said, oh, here's G in between, and then he just described it that way. Actually, you know what? I'm bugging out right now because what they did was they put the B flat as a gray key. That's what they did. Okay. Now let's see. They must have done that for the other one too. Okay, so now for the diagram, instead of I see what they did for the printing, they decided to put everything in gray and black. So now you have 3 shades of color. So you have a white color, and so basically you're looking at white, black, and gray key relationship. So they decided to color the keys that you're playing as gray. I don't know what I was thinking before. Maybe I was just thinking about the letter name on the key. But you definitely see the shading. I just think it could have helped if they had, maybe at the bottom of the key, shaded that a little bit black so you can see you're playing that as a black key. Otherwise, it looks like you're playing a gray key, and then you're wondering, okay, well, what black key would be a gray key on the piano. Okay, so G, B flat, D is your G minor chord in root position, and then it shows you also how to play that in the bass clef. So you have G, B flat, D. Your G, 1, 2, 3, G is there, and then your B flat would be that first black key of that group if you're counting right to left. And then your D would be in the middle of your 2 black key groups. So 1, 2, D is there in the middle. Okay, so now let's go on to D, E, and A. All right, so what I like about this is that they are playing the D minor in a different inversion as well. So you're basically playing a first inversion. So you're spelling the D minor chord as F-A-D. So 5, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, F is there. 1, 2, 3, A is there. 1, 2, D is in the middle of your 2 black key group, and then just play it as that. So I think what I'll do, and I'll try to remember to do this, and feel free to remind me if I forget that I'm going to demonstrate how they've played it in the book, but I'll demonstrate that on the computer keyboard. And who knows, if I feel up to it, if the sun is shining and it feels like a really good mood, then I will play on the piano as well, so on the real keyboard. Okay, so now let's go to E minor. And I'm sorry also I'm not giving you the page numbers, but if you require the page numbers, let me know. So E minor chord is pictured as first inversion, G, B, E. So G, played by the fifth finger, B played by the third finger, and E played by the thumb. And by the way, I did say something about the fingering. There's a way to play this so that you're sharing the chord or the triad with both hands. So that would be the reason to come to piano lessons, so I could show you how to do that, or ask your teacher how you would break this up into two hands. So 1, 2, 3, G is there, 1, 2, 3, B is there, 1, 2, E is there. And if there are any teachers listening, please, I just really ask you nicely to feel free to chime in on anything that we're talking about over here. We're still waiting on our lessons professional to come on and give her opinion. And I got some news about that today, some updates. And so I will be updating you later on that. So we're always excited to have more. The more the merrier. Okay, now let's go to A minor. And you may have a question about why I decided to group them into D, E, and A. You may decide that too. Like, why do you have to put D first? Why can't you put E first? Why are we putting everything in that order? Okay, so then, just like we left off with the G minor chord, for the A minor chord, it's in root position. So, A, C, E. It's pictured as 1, 2, 3. A is there. And you know what's so interesting? They have you play it with finger 4 on A, finger 2 on C, and finger 1 on E, as opposed to 5, 3, 1, which we use for the fingering for the other chords. That's really interesting. Okay, so go ahead and do what they have you doing here. So it's pictured. A is in gray, C is in gray, E is in gray for an A minor triad, and just play it the way that they give you the fingering. So that's it for those chords that we found in the Popular Chord Dictionary for piano. And you're listening to the C Major Radio Show. I'm C Major, and we're talking about minor chords today. And so hopefully you've learned a few things about how to find those chords on your piano, and at the same time how to find them on your computer keyboard if you're looking to do that. And then we will continue with that on the next episode, as well as giving you some new ways to play chords all together. You're listening to C Major Before the Show. Our theme today is Heartbreak and Wonder, May the 4th. Maybe melancholy. Minor chords are something that almost everyone knows about if you're playing the piano, and then almost everyone knows what today is. It is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. It's Happy Star Wars Day, but there's a bit of melancholy in the air this year, and everyone heard about the actor that played Chewbacca, who is no longer with us. So just a few days ago that happened. But in today's episode for minor chords, we've been just talking about the more bittersweet meaning to us here on C Major Before the Show, and then we'll continue talking about that on the C Major Radio Show on tomorrow. So you've heard some of the music that we use on the show, and Gut Feeling is one of those tunes. We've just been playing a little bit of it now, and so we'd like just to have some, piano music playing in the background. I get offers all the time of using music that is royalty free, but I think it works well for us to just use piano music, and I happen to have some of that, so hopefully you don't mind too. It is still a beautiful day out here in the greater New York City area. And so to go along with our theme of minor chords, we're just going to talk about some new ways that students are starting to learn to play the piano. So this came across my desk this week, so I hope you don't mind that I'm going to share that. And then we'll get to our shout-outs. But believe it or not, there is an academy where students can learn all that they want to learn about technology. Music certainly plays a part in that. But I ran across this article that was just really interesting to me. It just went along with the idea of self-directed learning. So I was really happy to see about that, to learn about that and to see that. Okay, so let me just click on that for a moment. Okay, so there are a couple of things happening. Let's see, I think my computer just froze. Let's see if I can step out of that for the moment. Okay, now I think it's becoming unfrozen. Let's make sure I choose the right browser. Okay, so what this is going along with the whole idea of online learning. There's an online academy that's available. And the classes are set aside for a certain number of hours a day. And I thought there was some sort of mention of music here, but I'm not seeing it now. Okay, so then maybe let's just go to the other article. Okay, I think this was the school. And we'll do this from time to time. We don't do it every episode, but we will just stop and talk about some things that are coming across our desk. But when I read this article, it just put me in the mind of what my students are doing, what they're learning. Okay, so it's not really coming up for me. Okay, I think it's just the device that I'm using. But I'll just tell you basically in a nutshell what it was. It was just saying that, this academy recognizes that students are doing most of their learning from their peers and that they're using YouTube. And it just put me in the mind of something that I learned from my students this week, that they are doing exactly that. They are learning from YouTube. I had a student that really just was so determined to learn to play songs that she wanted to play, quote-unquote real songs, by using YouTube. And now she's gone even more high-tech, and now she's using her iPad because her parents were able to upgrade her sound and get her the piano that would allow her to use the iPad along with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to learn the songs that she wants. So all she has to do is bring out her iPad and then just press play, and then the songs will play through the speakers on her piano. And at the same time, there's a teaching feature on there as well. And at the same time, if she wants to record something that she's practiced and then play it back, it turns her into a recording engineer on the spot, and she can do that and then have a chance to monitor her own progress, or in some cases do editing. But it also started with what she was already able to do on her keyboard. So she was able to record on different tracks on her keyboard, but the problem was there were not enough keys for her to expand the way she wanted to expand. So now she's able to do that. So that was very exciting. So the new learning times really are about how students are learning in these times, in the 21st century. It's not about the old-fashioned way that we learned with a teacher sitting there and just pointing out every single mistake and being critical of everything and making the learning maybe not so fun, but more pressured. But there are more fun ways and high-tech ways to learn what you want to learn, just using a computer and apps and mobile devices and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do now is go over to Facebook. So we'll get out the Facebook page for that. Or bring out the Facebook page. We prefer to say it that way. So a lot of people are trying to get at me on Facebook. Bear with me just one moment. Okay, so this is just reminding me that I was interested in an event today, so I'll go ahead and mention that event. If you are in Brooklyn or around the Brooklyn Music School, if you want to stop by, there's an event called Will Calhoun Masterclass and BMS Drum Recital, so definitely tap into that. And let me know how it goes for you. Okay, so now we're moseying on over to C major before the show. And so I just wanted to go over some of the links that we were able to post this week. So if you happen to be there, you'll see that we posted the event that I just mentioned. And then before that, we just said we will try to mention some of our shared links on the next podcast, which is today. So thank you for tuning in for that. Now, there is a piano masterclass with Peter Frankel, and he's an international soloist and professor emeritus at the Yale School of Music, and that's going to be at the JCC Turnauer School of Music. So if you happen to be in that area, feel free to mosey on over there. Now, there's a piano masterclass on scales and arpeggios from Steinway Hall in London, so we posted something about this. And this is one of my very favorite videos to watch. I love watching Professor Fitch talk to you about how to improve your scales and arpeggios. And then we did a promo called Melancholy Meets Hopeful, Sad Chords Can Get You to Happy. And from time to time, you'll hear me say something about that because I wrote the song Gut Feeling, and the story behind that you may know already. But, I feel that writing for some people really does help. And so in my case, it really helped me to sit down and just play some of the chords that helped me to really express how I was feeling in the moment. And at the end of it, I felt better. So you just never know. Now, this is something I was really excited. If you ever heard the group Soul Percussion, they really are worth your time to see them if you can. And a lot of times the tickets are free. So Percussion, just look them up. And we posted a YouTube video of something that they did, and it was just really exciting. It was an evening of live music, visual art, and film. So we'd like to share with you what some of the musicians are doing throughout the area and beyond. And then you can see that we posted our homework from last week from cmajorporter.com, lit or lil. So if you have a chance to, just look through and see if it's something that you want to click on. And we try to keep it light, we try to keep it fun, we try to keep it interesting. And we can see that today's Spreaker post is already up. So 40 minutes ago, we posted Heartbreak and Wonder, minor key chords. May the 4th be melancholy. Almost everyone knows what today is, May the 4th. Okay, so thank you so much for checking out our page. Feel free to like, feel free to follow, feel free to share, and also feel free to make an appointment if you happen to be in the area and you want to select us to help you with your music making needs. And like I said last week, I believe someone was looking into that and wanted to know more. So if you happen to mosey on over to cmajorporter.com, you will see our blog post over there, which is where we mostly post our homework for C major before the show. Again, we try to keep it lighthearted, try to keep it fun. C major's classroom is there. Keep calm and do your homework, and then you'll see our most recent post. So we're going to be posting this week's homework, and it will probably have something to do with minor chords. I think what I want to do for this week is turn you into not a song stylist, but a chord stylist. So if you had to pick a song that belongs in a minor key, how would you chord style that song? What would you put together? What chords would you put together? So again, in the interest of helping you be more self-directed in your own learning and not feel like you're confined. And that happens naturally sometimes too, because students will say, oh, I would have gone here instead of there. When you start giving them the liberty to, you give them guidance. You start the song and you end the song with the chords that you want so they can see the key if you're doing something simple in terms of key signature. But then the middle part is where you help them to see, okay, which words, if the song has words, which words will have a certain change. Will you use basic changes or will you use more changes than someone else? So that's always interesting. Now what I wanted to do was go over to musicnotes.com. I like using music notes because from time to time I may decide to go over some information with the student if they're interested in a particular song. So I had that song Location on my mind. So I just wanted to see where all the minor chords were in that song because I haven't sat down to try to play it yet. So it looks like in the intro you start off with an A major 7th, then you go to a G sharp 7th, followed by a C sharp minor 9th, followed by a G sharp minor 7th, and then you go back to an A major 7th to start the song. So send me your location, that's an A major 7th chord, followed by a G sharp 7th chord. Focus on communicating because C sharp minor 9th, I just need the time and place to come through. I thought he said go through, but it's come through. I just need the time and place to come through. No, he does say come through. So when he says through, you're shifting to a G sharp minor 7th according to this score. And then what's also fun is that you can transpose this. So C sharp minor is the original published key. I thought it was in a minor key. So it's just so interesting, though, the first chord that you get to. So it does not start with C sharp minor chord. It starts with an A major 7th chord. So that's interesting to see that. But you can see where the C sharp minor chord comes in as a C sharp minor 9th chord, which is the third chord played, and to see where it falls in terms of the words. So you have other keys that you can transpose this to. I was working with the students today on transposing, so I'm going to mention a little bit more about that because we're about to start student shout-outs. Okay, so give me just a few seconds, and I'll be back in a moment. You're listening to C Major Before the Show. Listening to C Major Before the Show, and we are back. We just took a little bit of a wellness break, if you can call it that. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and we are moving on in the episode to talk about some topics that are very popular. Everybody is talking about Game of Thrones. Everybody, I know. They're so excited. They're just talking about Games of Thrones everywhere you look. Everybody's talking about Game of Thrones. So we were very excited to know there is a Game of Thrones wellness drink that's available. I won't say where, but it's a Game of Thrones themed wellness drink. But I will give you a hint. It involves a dragon. It involves a named dragon. So if you happen to taste that drink, just know it's intended to make you feel healthier than if you were drinking something else that may not contain those same ingredients, let's say it that way. And then a lot of my students are very excited about Star Wars and the developments there. I have a student that is practicing Star Wars themed music, and today's theme goes along with that because we're talking about May the 4th. So I have other students that are working on the music from Frozen, So Let It Go. And so I just want to give shout outs to them because they're working so hard. I mean, that Frozen themed piano arrangement is the one that Demi Lovato did. So, and this is a young student. Both students are very young, but they're just determined. And their parents are really, and their guardians, the parents, the guardians, the people that take care of them are really excited too about their progress, that they've been able to really jump in and play things that they're excited about. So I just want to give a little shout out to them. I'm really proud of their progress. I've mentioned it before here on C Major before the show. But getting back to that wellness thing, so I was even thinking, you know what, maybe I should come out with a C Major wellness menu just for the fun of it, just to give you something to think about if you're listening to the podcast and you want to bring your own drink and your food to the podcast. Then feel free to do that. But a lot of what I try to focus on in between talking about music making and wellness topics is just talk about wellness in general. So I mentioned the Game of Thrones drink. And then my wellness drink of choice of late has been matcha with coconut milk. So that's definitely on the C Major wellness menu. So if you happen to have tried any matcha, you know that it is not cheap. So I have to wait and find mine on sale because that's how I was taught, to try to find as much as you can on sale without paying full retail price for something. But matcha, or matcha if you prefer to say that, to me goes really, really well with coconut milk. I've tried it with almond, I've tried it with soy, and I even tried it with macadamia nut milk, which I found on sale, by the way, too. And so what I think I like is matcha with coconut milk. So I've been able to suggest that to some of my friends and people that I run into that are interested in matcha as a drink. And then I have friends that drink it with absolutely nothing but just hot, steamed water. That's what they prefer, and they're definitely into the health benefits that can bring to them, and they talk about that. Now, recently, I just discovered something called purple cereal that involves acai, and you can get strawberry with that, but in this case, there's a purple hue to the cereal, and so if you mix that with, say, macadamia nut milk, then you're going to get like a purplish type color for your cereal. So I think that's interesting. But for my matcha drink, if it's hot, then I try to put some raw honey in it. And then I have friends that have been definitely into making their own green drink, which involves celery and cucumber and one of my friends decided to put a little lemon in there. I don't know if she put ginger in it, but she definitely added just a little bit of pineapple and just put it all in a blender with some ice, of course. And then that was her drink. So there you go. These are my wellness suggestions that are coming across the table, in terms of conversations with friends and so forth. So together, we come up with things that we like, and so who knows, we may come up with a little wellness menu for the C major before the show, and just to see what happens, just for fun. Now, I did a little bit of shouting out already to a couple of students, and now I want to give some shout outs to students that are improving and doing really, really well. And so that includes my students that are in college, and now they're coming to the end of their semesters, students that are on their way to college, and I mentioned the students already that were recording with their iPad and they're working with their parents on that. They're definitely considered pre-college, but they're already thinking about building their CVs. What can they do to show that they have something else on the table besides just studies, that they have piano skills that help them with their thinking, their critical thinking, their brain, music in the brain. And so I have another student that's working on the Halloween main theme, so he worked on that. And so now he's able to show how to play those intervals on white keys as well as black keys. So he's very excited about that. So he's able to transpose it as he needs to, and he's able to count in 5/4. So shout out to all of these students. I'm excited for them, because every time you see the light bulb go on for the students, it just, I don't know about you, it makes me really excited to see that. I just really love it when I see the light bulb go on for them and they really get it, and then they want to get it even more, and then the parents get into it, and then everybody's excited about the learning of the students. So I think that's just great. So I have some students that are also working on understanding more about accidentals and intervals and time values and chords. I have another student who really has worked so hard to bring herself to another level of performance. I mean, to the point of just saying, you know what, I'm going to leave popular songs alone, and then focus on classical music. So she really challenged herself to play the music of Mozart and to learn the music of Prokofiev and another genre altogether involving a ballet style of music. And so it was very challenging for her. I'm just going to keep using that word because that's really what it was. So here it is. When we started to work together, she was playing little simple tunes and was in a certain level of a piano method book, but she stepped away from that and really started to focus on studying music theory at a more intense level, and then from there stepping into some very challenging pieces. And so this has been a challenge for her because she's had to really stretch her technique. And for a while I was a little scared for her because if you haven't done the Hanon, and teachers, you all know what I'm talking about with that. Anyone who is pre-college and you are trying to improve your piano skills because you're going to be studying music education or something else, and you haven't done Hanon, and now some of your teachers in school are starting to tell you, if you're lucky enough to have a music program, they're starting to tell you, okay, pay attention to Hanon. Or if you happen to be online and looking at some edX program that was available, and that program also shows you Hanon is important for technique, and you're starting to believe that, it can be a little bit scary if you start to realize, oh, maybe I do need to pay attention to scales and arpeggios and other finger exercises and exercises that will help me with my trills and my thirds and my sixths. And so just a shout out to that student, really. I mean, she really took on the challenge to do something like that. And now when I thought she was going to quit, she's now thinking that she's going to go ahead and go further. And so in the same breath, I want to give a shout out to that other student who's thinking now about majoring in music education. So shout out to both students. And now we're in that part of the year where school is coming to a close. You're starting to think about what you're going to be doing for the summer. And so I do have some students that are giving up instructor-led piano for the summer, meaning they're going to take a break. And they'll probably do some music making. I had a student that went to Disney World not too long ago and decided that she was going to use her Kindle to learn all the songs she wanted. And when she came back, let me tell you, she knew every single Disney song she wanted to know and was able to play all of them. So that was very exciting that she was that excited about the Disney songs. But for the students going into the summer months, they may decide to give up piano for the summer and then come back to it, which I think is a common thing. That's something that we all grew up with. When I say we, meaning me and my friends grew up with. And then you just give yourself a break and then come back in the fall. And then there are some students that are thinking about maybe altogether. Maybe piano is not for them. Or maybe they're thinking about playing another instrument. But may the fourth be with you as you go forward on your own learning path to music making. I really mean that. Not in a sarcastic way, but I really mean that. So just a shout out to those students who are finding their own path to learning to play the piano, that they've studied for a while and then now they're deciding to go in their own way. And they may come back to it. They may decide, now I think I really want to go back and study some more. And then ring, I get a call, and then they're back, or a text, because everybody likes to text nowadays. But shout out to the students that are learning to play the piano along with their peers. They're very peer influenced. So from Baby Shark on over to Disney songs, on over to songs that you may hear in video gaming. I have those students that are learning to play songs that they hear as they are gaming, and they're big gamers. And then I have students that are very influenced by the songs from Hamilton and other Broadway shows that they go to with their family. So shout out to all the students who are very clear about their own paths for music making. And a special thank you in this moment to the subscribers. Some of my subscribers happen to be students, people that I know, and new followers. So thank you so much. I don't know if you're getting something from the podcast in terms of learning to play chords for yourself, but I really want to thank you for tuning in. I really mean that. It means a lot. Every subscription counts. Every following counts. Every like counts nowadays. All of that's being watched not only by this platform but beyond. So it really does matter to us that you are tuning in, and feel free to give your feedback. The good, the bad, the ugly. We take all of it because it helps us to learn, helps us to grow. And so you may have noticed in this description I said, thank you for listening and watching. So that has something to do with our growth as well. So I will be saying a little bit more about that in upcoming episodes. But we're excited about where we're going. Homework. See us over at cmajorporter.com because we have some homework over there that will have to do with minor chords. I haven't decided how I'm going to word it yet, but if you've been following, you know what we do is we post the homework usually the day after, and that gives you a chance to hear the podcast, to do your download on demand, and to do it without any any ad insertions. Sometimes ads get inserted in our podcast, so it may interrupt the podcast, but we try to leave it ad-free as much as possible until we want to put the ads in. So usually that's after 24 hours. Sometimes it's longer if I think, okay, they would enjoy listening to this without the ads. But we appreciate your listening no matter what, because that keeps us here on this platform. Tomorrow is the C Major Radio Show. We will see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening. The C Major Radio Show is right here on the same platform. We'll be talking about minor chords and writing on the staff. And that's tomorrow's show, plus interactive polling, plus notation software, and more for Sunday afternoon. And then as you plan to see us next week, know that we will be talking about expanding our chords. So we're going to have a promo that will explain all of that that's coming up. Chord expansions next week here on C Major before the show. Be well and have a great Saturday evening.